Hello, everyone. Big thank you to be with us. And I am super happy to cover, to me, a key topic, and you will understand why. So when you look at and you listen to the news, right, we are entering to a new operational reality shaped basically by three things, right? Three major forces. First one is about digital and AI everywhere. So this one I believe that is obvious, and I will elaborate later on. Second one is a big change and evolution of the new energy landscape. And the third one is that we are entering to a big, complex, multipolar world. So what does it mean? So first one, the pace of the change is unprecedented. And when you look at the news, you see here what is going on. Global AI spending is growing almost plus 170% in the years that are coming. So this is already, and we are talking about 630 billion in 2028. So imagine the numbers here. On top of that, we see, as we speak, a big data center capacity increase. We are talking about four times between 2023 and 2030. So clearly, this is something that is impacting us and will impact in the future. At the same time that this is happening, what we see is that the energy systems are becoming much more complex. Today, what we can see is that electricity will represent 25% of the energy consumption by 2030. And what is as well impacting is that the renewable generation is increasing at least 3 times the power mix. So when we talk about this context, what we see on top of that, and I do not want to be negative, but this is why we want to be here to see how we can solve the problems in this context, is that we see somehow a big fragmentation, right? We see fragmentation on the maintenance. Maintenance is completely disconnected. We see isolated digital initiatives, which are not helping to have a convergence of the things. And we have somehow siloed energy programs inside the companies. This, we believe, that will impact big time the downtime that the industries will have in the future. And imagine, depending on the typology of the industry, this amount will be super big. Another thing that we need to have in mind is the human. So today we are starting to see a huge scarcity of engineers, of technical people, and this will not improve, will continue to decline. So, and the last one is the infrastructures are starting to age. Remember, the first data center is long time ago. So we see today that we need to take care of those assets. So I will introduce the panel now, right? So in this context, right, we believe that fragmentation is not viable, will not help to solve the problems of our customers. And what we believe is that the concept of asset lifecycle management approach, being very well coordinated, data-driven, will really ensure that we are moving from a new operating system for operational excellence. In this context, let me introduce myself. I am Marta Canals, Services Lab Leader in Schneider Electric, and I am delighted to present the panelists that will join the session with me. Carlo Gianlombardo, responsible for Process Electrification Advisory, Cecile Vercellino, responsible for Industry Automation Services, and Ramesh Kumar, in charge of Services, Strategy and Operations. During the panel, what we will do, we'll explore how this end of what I mentioned before, right? This island will be a big opportunity to improve the competitive advantage of the industries and all the challenges that they are facing. So let me start by you, Ramesh, in terms of questions. So we talk about a fragmented approach, right? Why this fragmented approach is no longer viable today?
Thank you, Martha. Am I audible? Yeah. Very happy to be here, and this is a very critical topic that when we talk about the asset lifecycle management, uh, there is a critical question that what is asset, and how are we thinking about assets, and that's where the fragmentation comes. The fragmented approach is this: that when we think of all of our assets, be it the panel, be it a meter, be it a breaker, we think of them all as isolated, objects, and therefore the entire operations of them and the data of which comes out of it, or the insights which comes out of it, are fragmented. So what does it mean? Which means that we are able to act upon it, and that's the traditional way of working on it, which is maintaining it, operating it, etc. But then we are not able to take that outcome of that particular asset to the system. So therefore, by logic, what happens is this: that we are suboptimal in our maintenance approaches, we are suboptimal in the way we are operating it, and very, very importantly, we are not able to move from reactive approach to a predictive and a continuous improvement approach, which is condition-based maintenance approach. And hence, there are blind spots in the health. So that's what is the fragmented approach all about, that it is our inability to move from local, you can say, optimization to a global optimization. And frankly, it impacts our entire process and electrical space in terms of the way we maintain it, the way we operate it.
Thank you. Then rebounding on this power and processes convergence, why this electrification is essential to asset lifecycle management for power and process, Cecile? Hi, Carlo, sorry, it's for you, the question.
Yeah. Happy to respond to this
sorry,
one.
Sorry.
No problem at all. So I would say electrification is essential to asset lifecycle management. It offers a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to look at industrial and infrastructure systems and subsystems and move them towards a fundamentally more sustainable state. This is all already happening today. When we think electrification, it is essential to look at power and process in a unified manner. It is central to do it. And as we do it, we look at the primary assets. Most people will think of the fossil fuel fired assets, such as the turbines, the CHP units, the generators, basically, that will be electrified over time. And that's correct. That's part of electrification. But if you want to have a holistic approach, and you desperately need one, from grid to distribution system to asset, what you need is a holistic approach. And if you do that, there are dozens, hundreds, and thousands of assets in the systems and the subsystems that are potentially touched by this transformation. So once in a lifetime opportunity to look at those critically, identify the opportunities, the choke points, what are the limitations, what are the opportunities, and so on. So the objective of this is to develop a strategy that will deliver a transition built around CapEx, OpEx, and return on investment optimization primarily.
Mm-hmm. And now, yes, it's for you, Cecile. Sorry, I missed the question. Especially in this context of process electrification, what is the future of asset lifecycle management, right? Where is asset management moving?
Yeah, and I think in the context of what Ramesh and Carlo has said is, as you understood, we are in siloed operations. Process on one side, power on the other side. But at the end, for the customers, is it relevant? Certainly not, because most of the process are by definition, powered. So we need to make this interdependency a winning recipe for our customers, and not something today that is a blocker in the optimization of their operations and also to achieve their sustainability goals. So most of our customers today in the industry are 60% of the executive in that industry is thinking that the autonomous operation is a path to go to the net zero objectives. But effectively, only 26% of them, so 1/4 of them, are moving to the digital transformation. So we need to help them because there is multiple, I would say, roadblocks to this journey. The first one is how to move to predictability, and I think we will come back on that a little bit later on. But the biggest challenge overall is the data quality behind, because to move to digitization and to be able to benefit from what you said, we need to have a high quality of data. And we say that today, 80% of the data that is available are not used by our customers. So that's really what is the challenge in front of us. And beyond, I would say, the data availability, most of our today manufacturing sites, 70% of them needs a refurbishment to get access to this data. So that's really what is in front of us.
And still with you, Cécile, and coming back to these data-driven decisions, you talk about data excellence. How a company can start, right? Thinking about predictivity, starting the digital journey, transformation journey.
Yeah, and as I said, to start first, we need to get access to the data. So we need to modernize, we need to instrument, we need to be able to have the use of the data in the right modeling. So for that, there is multiple steps that our customers need to go through. And the first, as I said, is data readiness, so instrumentation. The second one is to do what? Is really to have an outcome-based approach. And that's a fundamental step for our customers. And this is what you were saying, Carlo, on the electrification. We need to understand what is the goal that we want to achieve with this data. And then after, we need to move to this predictability, predictive maintenance, but also predictability of how the operations will go. And here we have a kind of ABC process. We need to identify which assets are critical. Do we have to digitize everything? Certainly not. Then we need to acquire it, and we need to build the data architectures. And this is where the consulting approach, the way we need to accompany our customers, is critical in each journey. It's not a walking the path, and this is what we need to bring confidence to the leaders and the executives that the value and the ROI is very effective. And this is what we have demonstrated so far.
Clear, and thank you. I think that is clear on the challenges that companies has. Now, Carlo, from your side, right? You have been well engaged with many customers on process electrification. What are the challenges that they have? How they can start moving forward on this digitization?
Excellent question. I would say that, much like the previous answer, data is at the center of all of it. To answer your question, it's not easy. It really depends on the industry or infrastructure that we're looking at. Obviously, not all industries are in the same situation. Some segments are more advanced than others. They are ready to electrify today as is, pretty much. It's not that simple, but they can get there. Whereas there are some sectors, the hard-to-abate ones, where the transition will probably be a hybrid one. So that will take some time and some complexity, but eventually the journey should lead pretty much in the same direction, and we know where true north is, and that's what we're aiming for. I would say now is probably the second best time to think about electrification. The best time would have been yesterday already, but looking at geopolitics and global markets today, I think very wise to start thinking about that electrification strategy, because regardless of whether it's a hybrid or a fully electric transition, it needs to start today, and you're setting the stones today for that transition to happen tomorrow. So approach is fully data-driven, and I would argue the execution is software-enabled. So the way to do this is power and process optimization. I already mentioned that. And today, we are able to do it thanks to software solutions. So we have process software that can elaborate very advanced digital twin technology. We have power software, power system SCADA, if you want, that is also in that very advanced digital twin stage. And we are very proud at Schneider to currently have the unity of the two. So a power and process unified digital twin co-simulation, as we call it, that allows us to go into great granularity of the interaction of these two domains. And there are great benefits coming from this. The greatest part of this probably is that it can follow the project from its very inception all the way into its execution and commission. So you can start developing a model very roughly, and then as your project advances and grows, it will walk the walk with you all the way into execution. And this is an incredibly powerful story of digital continuity that is really enabling clients to achieve really impressive results ultimately.
Thank you. So listening at what we said, and this is to you, Ramesh, right? Do you believe that asset lifecycle management is the new operational system to improve our operational excellence?
No, absolutely. I think if you see how the discussion progressed, that there is a lot of fragmentation, but now there are ways and methods that how the fragmented asset approach can move into a in some respects a unified asset approach, asset lifecycle management. Uh, so for me, it's like this, that we are at an inflection point, and that inflection point is obviously triggered by the entire digital revolution and by triggered by AI enabled and AI augmented processes. So what has happened is this, that now we can potentially, again, I'm not saying that it has already happened, when we are in the industry, we still see a siloed approach, and the siloed approach is lot because of legacy reasons. But now, if you look at the asset lifecycle management, we can have a single source of truth. So the single source of truth in terms of what has happened, in that there is a single source of truth because there is a unified tool, there is a unified data source, etc., and so on. Because now you can potentially have a single source of truth, you can move into energy intelligence and AI native services. With energy intelligence and AI native services, what happens is this, that you are able to move from reactive based, you can say, approaches to predictive based approach. And with that, and once you are in a predictive based approach, what can you do? Instead of saying that, look, there is a problem, and somebody calls and says that there is a problem, now the system itself can signify that, look, there is a problem, and then either the system can trigger the solution, or you can send a field representative on the ground to solve it. And sometimes, if it can be solved remotely through the connected service hub, it can be solved through a person sitting into another place, but remotely, you can say, helping the customer or our own field representative to diagnose the problem and solve it. So that's what energy intelligence and AI native services can work it out. And with that, what happens is this, that suddenly you will be able to save on time, you will be able to save on cost, and you will have a much more reliable service, and your customer CSAT scores will improve. So in some respects, what is happening is that with the asset lifecycle management approach, we are able to break the thing that, okay, to provide better service, I need to spend more money. We can potentially, with the same money or reduction, we can have a better CSAT score. So therefore, absolutely, to conclude a little bit of a long thing, that asset lifecycle management with energy intelligence and AI native services is becoming you can say, the core of operational excellence.
Clear. And rebounding on that, Carlo, this is to you, because probably can you share with us what are the operational benefits that you are starting to see with this, your domain, right? Your practice, process electrification?
Absolutely, and gladly. The first one that everybody asks me about and thinks of typically is sustainability, decarbonization. And I would argue that's a very important one still today that has not changed. But I would say that is not the primary one when I go into a client discussion or when we look at a project. The pain point tends to be around CapEx and OpEx optimization. So people are looking at their operations and they're trying to look at ways to optimize. So at the bottom line of that, I would argue that it's about competitiveness. It's about being ahead of that curve as that target moves, and ensuring that we are using the energy that we are sourcing today in a competitive environment, as we know, more efficiently, more effectively, in a more structured way, if you want. So we are in an exciting time where we are able to capture more energy from renewable energy sources. This was previously partly shedded, partly wasted because of the intermittent nature. Today, with a BESS system, that is not a problem. You can basically level it all out, but there is more than that. It's about how to play in that specific market to make sure that you sell the electricity back at the best point. When do you charge? When do you discharge? These are all very important questions, and they ultimately need answering. But the benefit is great. It's about an increased energy independence to some extent and a better use of resource. So it sounds very much like a kind of win-win scenario. Connected to that, thanks to all these new digital, modern, and interconnected assets, we are unlocking the age of flexibility. So now I can manage my energy in a way that is more dynamic. I can follow the price point. I can make it available to others. I can turn effectively as an industry from a pure consumer, if you want, into a prosumer, something that we've been talking about for a long time. But now data and AI is enabling more and more. And then lastly, to touch on AI, because it's such a popular topic at this conference, these assets, more interconnected, more digital, they collect ever increasing amounts of data. And today we have AI that can make sense of it, translate it into actionable insights, and this is great. But building that data set, that data lake, and collecting it and refining it will be even more important when AI, as AI evolves, because this AI is going to be even more powerful, hopefully, and will be able to even do more things with that high quality data set at some point for training and beyond. Voila.
Clear. And now, Cecile, to you, right? Coming back to this AI-based maintenance, helping on predictivity and so on. Where do we see already this happening in the market?
Yeah, and we see that, and to be honest, we are on this topic for a while with our customers to explain how to help them to move to predictive maintenance. And I've seen personally a shift 1 to 2 years ago. It was somewhere a kind of a future thinking for our customers about, yes, I need to move to predictive, but I'm not ready. My install base is too old and I need to make too much investment. It's not coming at all in the same way now with our customers. Most of our customers are putting the digitization on the top of the list of what they need to deliver for multiple reasons, as you said. I mean, the electrification is accelerating, and we have specifically with some of our example on, for example, glass furnace electrification, where the effectiveness of operations is intrinsically linked to the effectiveness of energy consumption. That's very new for them, but it's really now on the top of their agenda. So I see more and more customers moving, but as I said, there is few steps. And not all industries are in the same level of maturity to lead that discussion and this transformation. But I would say the customers today that have adopted predictive maintenance, 95% of them are seeing an effective ROI after a very short period of time. And most of our customers that have went with us to the digital transformation using, as you said, software base, gathering the data, and now building the AI use casing with us, it's a 2 years ROI that they are effectively seen today. So we see much more appetite. It's less and less proof of concept, is more and more effective use case, delivering the ROI, and the process and power data convergence in the sense of data modeling and being able to deliver the use case is effectively proving that we are able to analyze the root cause of why we are losing energy, analyze the root cause of the equipment performance. And when we think about motor management, today motor management, the prediction of motor failure is done by electrical signal analysis. So a lot of use cases are now on the market, and our customers effectively has shifted in the last 2 years and accelerating into this digital transformation.
So probably to conclude, Ramesh, we talk about life cycle, power, processes approach. What are the capabilities, right, that these, the industrial companies should have, right, to ensure that they are succeeding?
Yeah, so I think, if you look at the discussion that we had, as industrial companies like Schneider Electric, when we are serving our customers, we are moving from the approach that we are, selling you a product or a solution to saying that we are with you in the entire life cycle. And first of all, whatever is the product, that's all connected. It is connected at the level on the field, and from the field, once it is connected, it comes on the edge, where at the edge level, which is at a factory level, or which is at a warehouse level, or which is at a building level, one can take decisions. And third is, it is connected at the cloud, with which one can do condition-based maintenance, and one can do predictive outcomes, etc., and so on. So so what is happening is this, that for the companies like Schneider, we are moving from, or we are moving to the approach of energy intelligence and AI native services, you know. And with the approach of energy intelligence and AI native services, we are leveraging, you know, one thing is very important, that first of all, we need to leverage the current, you can say the know-how, which is suddenly with the explosion of computing power, we are able to do, and it is not only Schneider, but many of the companies are able to do a lot more compute, and with that, they are able to do a lot more inferences, you know. So that's number one. But along with that, the physics-based, you know, you can say physics-based knowledge and the core equipment knowledge, if you are able to combine both of them, then what happens is that the insights and the outcomes which are getting generated are much more accurate and are much more towards what it is required for the customer. So this is what is required now for the industries, that companies like Schneider and our peer, etc., that we need to adopt the asset lifecycle approach, and with that come up with solutions which are more, you know, covering the entire life cycle, right from consulting, you know, so that how the system and the assets needs to be designed, right from the initial design stage, to when you are executing it, to when you are maintaining it, to when it needs to be again recycled, and then, you know, you have to take out the old assets and bring in the new assets. So in the entire life cycle management, we need to approach it from one holistic approach of that there should be a unified, one single source of truth, and second is the various assets needs to talk to the same system, and the customer should see outcomes rather than events. You know, it's like that.
Sure. Big thank you to the three of you. Good discussion.